Alright, so we just went ahead and finished up building the main part of our landing page. We have everything in place, so now we need to go through and add all of our responsive styles to make sure that the UI that we've created will adapt perfectly to all screen sizes. This is usually the process that I like to follow, first building out the page for desktop or whatever your main version of the site is going to be, and then go ahead and shrinking it down, seeing where things break, and adding fixes. So let's head on over to the browser and see what's going on and then how we're going to tackle it. Alright, so I'm here on the home page, and the first thing that we're going to take a look at is our hero block. So if I go ahead and start shrinking this page down, we'll slowly start to see. First, one thing that I don't like is how close the animation and the text get here. See right here, they're just right up next to each other, but then on this side, the text is also right up next to the edge of the screen. And I usually try to keep things a little bit spaced out from the edge, so we'll go ahead and add some extra spacing there, and then let's just check it out as we continue to shrink down, and we'll see that it actually becomes much too large here. We have other horizontal scrolling going on because of our other elements, but you can see it doesn't fit the space correctly here either. And finally, when we're here at these smaller screen sizes, I think it looks to be a bit too much space up here above where the text is below the header. I think that it probably shouldn't be as much space here as we need right here. This looks fine, but when we're in this column layout, I don't think that we need that much space. So the first thing that we should take a look at is let's go ahead and start shrinking our animation down based on the screen size. So at smaller screen sizes, right now we just have a fixed width, so we should go ahead and make that a smaller width as well to match. So let's go ahead and open up the code editor and open up heroblock.js. So if we take a look how we have this set up currently, you can see we're just passing a width of 50 rem into our Lottie component for the animation, and so that's why we have a fixed width for all the different screen sizes. So to change that, we're going to need to pass in different values here for our width instead of the fixed value. Now, we've seen before how we can use the theme.breakpoints.down and then whatever breakpoint we'd like to pass in different styles for our classes, but this isn't actually a class. This is a prop on the Lottie component. So to do that, just like we did in our header component where we've seen this before, let's go ahead and import the useMedia query from @material-ui/core/useMediaQuery. Then we can come up at the beginning of our function for the hero block, and let's create a constant of matches md equal to the useMediaQuery, and we'll call this and pass it in a function that will itself be called and receive the theme, and then we'll go ahead and check the theme.breakpoints.down for medium. Alright, and so now this will return true or false whether or not we are at the medium breakpoint or below it, and so we'll know whether or not we need our smaller sizes. Now I know since I've already built this that we're actually going to need not just the matches medium, but I'm going to copy this and we'll actually also need matches large. And then make sure to change in here the string to LG. You can paste this again, and then a matches XS, and make sure to change that to XS so that we can check for the extra small screen. So then if we come down here where we're passing in our width of 50 rem, let's go ahead and actually make this some JavaScript, and we'll first check, and the way I always do this for props is you end up putting the smaller screen size at the farthest left. Because if I were to have matches large here, and then have whatever value for that, and then the rest of the values, so say here, this is just a random, if I had 75 rem, and then if I went and if that wasn't the case, I tried to specify the matches medium, and then set, say, my 40 rem here, and then do the otherwise. Well, the thing to remember is that matches large is checking if it is at or below the large breakpoint. And so if we were trying to put our medium styles after that, well, medium is below large. And so this would actually be true, and we would never end up getting to this part of the code. So I always will have these smaller sizes to the left, and that is for props. So I'll go ahead and I'll undo that. And now we'll start off with the matches large here. And we'll say that if we are at the large breakpoint, let's actually reduce this to 40 rem. Otherwise, we'll leave it at 50. So I'll go ahead and save that. If I flip back on over to the browser, start to resize the screen, you see that the animation now jumps and it's a nice smaller size. Now if we go ahead and keep shrinking it down, we'll probably want to go ahead and reduce it a little bit here when we add our styles for the header. The medium breakpoint is usually when I like to start really resizing things for smaller screens. So let's go ahead and in front of the matches large, we'll add matches medium. So now if it matches medium or below, then this would be the case. Otherwise, if that's not the case, then it could check if it matches large, and that would work out. So for medium, let's go ahead and give it 30 rem. We'll go ahead and save that. We see that jumps down to a much nicer proportional size for that screen. And if we go up, we see it jumps to the large and extra large. Awesome. So then if we keep shrinking this down, keep shrinking it down all the way, this looks pretty good, except I think that's probably still just a little bit big for all the way at this smallest breakpoint here. So let's go ahead and let's give it a matches XS. And then here, we'll go ahead and make sure to set, make sure we get this right, get the colon. And here for matches XS, we'll go ahead and give it 25 rem. So if I save that and flip back on over, you can see that just looks a little bit cleaner. So now the other thing that I mentioned here, you'll notice every time that the text is getting close to the screen, close to the edges, you see here, here that's just right up against the edge of the screen, and the high quality, that is just right up against the edge of the screen on the left. And I'd like to keep it away from that a little bit. So let's actually go ahead and give the item here wrapping the grid container direction of column. So this way it'll be applied to the entire thing holding all of our text. Let's go ahead and give it a classes with the root class for the grid of classes.text container. And then we need to come up, and we actually don't have any other styles yet. So we need to import destructure make styles from @material UI core make and just styles there. And then we can come down, create our constant of use styles equal to make styles called, receiving our theme and returning our style object with the text container class we just created. And let's just give it a padding of 2 rem. So if we go ahead and save that, flip back on over. I forgot we need to also at the top here create our constant of classes equal to the use styles called. And then if we go ahead and save and flip back on over, see that now we've got just a little bit of space between the edges, and it won't ever get closer to the screen than that. And I think that looks much better. Now we just have all this extra space here up above our text. So we actually have done that in layout.js. We've just created this div right here to space out our children underneath it, which is a totally valid approach. This works fine for just pushing out the content from the header since it's absolutely styled, or absolutely positioned rather, and so it's ignoring the spacing of these children. So we just have to push the children down a little bit. All right, but instead of doing this on just a style tag, so that we get our responsive styles, our responsive design abilities, let's go ahead and do this in a class. So we'll give this a class name since it's just a regular div of classes.spacer. And just like before, we don't have any other styles here yet. So let's import make styles from @material-UI/core/styles. And then we can create our constant use styles equal to the make styles called, receiving our theme, returning our style object, and we can add the spacer class and give it the margin bottom of 10 rem that we had from before. So if we save that, make sure we also get our const of classes equal to use styles. Use styles and call that. If we go ahead and save that and flip on over, we've still got the same thing. So now here, let's give it the theme.breakpoints.down, let's say for medium, and let's just set it to a margin bottom of 2 rem. So now if we save that, we see that that seems like a much more appropriate spacing there. If we go ahead and size this up, that looks really good. And then when our tabs show up, that jumps to the bigger amount of spacing. And I think that that looks pretty good to me.